Uh, there we go. Just wait for that to get started. Yeah, okay, so recording. Yeah, so thank you for having me. I do a lot of Zoom calls, but I'm not a natural presenter. So if I start rambling, if you think you've heard enough, just let me know and I will move on to the next bit. This is a presentation I gave some time back to PHP Berkshire, but has been updated essentially. I don't know about you guys, but I used to love the Choose Your Own Adventure books when I was a kid, and was looking for a format, and I thought, well, that would be different. And I'm sure folks haven't probably seen a Choose Your Own Agenda presentation, so I thought I'd give that a go. It worked quite well before, and I thought I'd rerun it again when Lauren kindly asked me to present to you guys. So without further ado, I'll give a quick intro just to who I am first. So I have a horribly long job title for one reason and another, mainly because I'm coming up to 9 years working for Acquia. And I've been promoted and promoted and promoted, so I must be doing something right. But I started many years ago working for myself. Originally I was freelance, and then I founded my own business. And then I thought I'd try something else, and I got invited to an interview with Acquia back in 2013. I'd already got some history with Drupal and had done all sorts of things, mainly on the front end, mainly in site building and actually kind of making, hooking stuff together, but also some development. And I'd also worked on email and servers and a whole bunch of things. And so I've really progressed within Acquia over the last few years. I work, the job title is a little bit of a misnomer, so I don't actually do anything commercial. I'm all technical all the time, apart from when there's a bit of politics involved. But I basically work with about half a dozen customers, helping them with their projects. So they're existing customers of ours who are doing things with Drupal predominantly, and a whole bunch of other stuff in between as well. And yeah, I essentially spend a lot of my time on Zoom. The pandemic kind of changed nothing for me, apart from I didn't go into our Reading office very much, or at all, for a good long while. I'm actually based, I should say, I'm actually based in North Hampshire. I'm actually in Hartley-Wintney, so I'm in the very north of the county. And I commute into the Reading office that we have from time to time. I'll probably be going in tomorrow because the air conditioning is working and it'll be nice and cool. So yeah, that's basically me and who I am. So I already mentioned, I thought we'd do a Choose Your Own Agenda. So this is going to be the fun bit, because every slide is basically half and half. So you can choose, and then we're going to have to decide a way to choose. We could always go with whoever shouts out first which slide they'd like, or we can have Lauren pick someone, or, well, some other format, but I don't mind. It's as much easier if we're in person for obvious reasons, because we can then just do a show of hands in the room. But maybe if people want to shout out white or blue, that would probably be the easiest one, because the slides are all the same format. I could try and change the speaker view so I can, sorry, the view so I can see more people. If you want to put up your hand, that would work as well. But I will take basically votes or the loudest shout first on which topic we'd like to try. And I guess, yeah, we should get started. Yeah, I guess anyone have any opinions on Drupal to start with? That's probably the easiest one. Has anyone used Drupal? Has anyone built a site with Drupal, either recently or in the past? There are any kind of users of Drupal out there today already? And it's fine if there isn't. I'll take silence as no. Oh.
I think people are putting stuff in the chat.
Ah, okay. I haven't got the chat open. That's my bad. Let's pull that up. Hang on a second. No, okay.
I built something with it in the past about 12 years ago.
Okay, wow, great, right, yeah. That was probably about the time I kind of picked things up with Drupal, to be honest. Maybe even a little bit longer than that. So we've got 3 blues. Yes, Drupal is, I guess, not everyone's cup of tea, to be sure. It's gone through a big kind of evolution over the last couple of years, and I can talk a little bit about that coming up. And I guess it's something that I started using, way back when I was trying to build something. I played around with some open source stuff, and I really liked what I found, and I kind of, found it easy to build things and then keep building things with it. And here I am today. So it's been the backbone of my career, really. And that's why I guess I'm talking about it to you today. So we'll jump on. Next one. Pick a color. I'll keep an eye on the chat. So choose white or blue. Okay, some blues or a bit of pie. Okay. Okay, more. I've got 3 blues. Brilliant, excellent. Okay, so I guess a few years ago, and I'm being a little disingenuous with some of these slides. I can kind of switch around a little bit between them because some of them are kind of overlap, which is a bit naughty of me, I know, but we'll go with PSR. So I guess probably the last sort of major version that maybe if you've not used it for a few years would have been Drupal 7. A lot of people came to Drupal on Drupal 7. And one of the big accusations I think that we always have with any kind of system, and Drupal maybe particularly, is that it didn't necessarily adhere to some of the great standards that were out there. So through building the next version of Drupal, Drupal 8, and we're now on 9, a lot of work was done to basically start to use some of the other existing standards out there. So for example, Drupal 8 now uses Symfony in its core. There are lots of other things that are now kind of effectively not invented on Drupal's island. They're proudly invented elsewhere. So we've stolen with kind generosity from the Drupal community lots of other good projects to basically make Drupal what it is today. There are hundreds. I can literally kind of point in any direction really and think of them, but obviously Symfony is the major one today that we rely on. We basically now have a fully kind of object-oriented back end. Drupal used to be very functional driven, and although you could do some object-oriented development with it, it was not fun and a bit clunky, and ultimately Drupal core didn't use that. So now we're in a kind of more PHP friendly world, shall we say, and there's some interesting things on the horizon, I think, as well. It's much easier to integrate almost any kind of composer friendly library into Drupal because it's all fundamentally kind of working in the same way, and there are still sort of Drupalisms, if you like, and I'll probably go on to talk a bit more about those, but fundamentally it's PHP all the way down. So let's pick another color. White, excellent. One for white, that must be Lauren, thank you. Any more votes for another color? More white, oh, everyone's going white, okay. Oh, another blue. We've got 3 whites and a blue. I'm gonna go white unless anyone else jumps in. So yeah, entities are boring, let's not talk about them. Another blue. So anyone building, obviously, a site in Drupal will predominantly, if you're starting from nothing, you'll just go and download Drupal core, and then you'll go and find some modules, you'll install those. Historically, when people have been developing in Drupal for a long time, they will start to look at distributions, and distributions are essentially a collection of modules and configuration and everything else that you want as well, pre-packaged effectively. And the reason that distributions is crossed out here, they do still exist, and there are loads of them out there. There's some fantastic distributions. One that one of my customers is using at the moment is called a Pigno, which is a LMS essentially. Builds on lots of other projects to build effectively a fully functioning LMS system with Drupal. In the future, the idea is that distributions are quite complicated to build for obvious reasons. So in the future, the project is basically looking at the idea of starter templates. So simpler approaches to putting together a package of modules, which will probably be predominantly based in as composer.json, but there will be a little bit more to them than that. And that's the idea that, you know, we can put together a very simple kind of checklist of things that you'd like to have in a project and give that to people, and off they go. They can build things very, very quickly. So fundamentally, a distribution and a starter template are the same kinds of things, but one is, if you like, the complex, takes longer to build and maintain option, and one is going to be the future version of that, if you like. So it's Drupal core plus whatever else you want to bundle with it. And with that one, I will move on to the next slide. So again, we're getting into a bunch of the stuff that Drupal does, I think, very well. I'm going to take votes again. So white or blue, let me know which one you'd like to see or hear about, I should say. I've got to remember where we are in time. So we've had someone wants Doom. We can go with that. I'll take that as blue. We've had 2 for blue, 1 for white so far. Oh no, sorry, it's even Stevens, 50-50. 2 for white, 2 for blue at the moment. Another vote could swing it. Let me know which one you'd want to hear about. More Doom. Okay, Mark gets double votes. Do you? Okay, that's fine. That's fine. So, so I guess ever since, well, a long time, Drupal has had a very comprehensive form API. And actually, there's a little bit of crossover between these, which is again why I put them together, so I can kind of jump around a little bit. The form API has evolved, and it used to be known for its arrays of doom. You would basically build a form, however you built your form, either from scratch using something like web form, which is a really comprehensive, fantastic form builder. And you would then probably go, oh, I need to customize something, and you go diving off down to try and work out, and you would find that there's this just enormous array that basically makes up the form. And that's why I tend to talk about arrays of doom. They're still there in the latest version of Drupal, but they're maybe a little bit obfuscated, I guess. And they're not quite as, well, you can still dive into them. One fundamental, I think, that Drupal hasn't got rid of, which again is a blessing and a curse for some folks, is that there are normally ways to hook into everything. And I use the word hook specifically because we call them hooks. That's what Drupal's kind of idiom is for essentially overriding, controlling, changing, taking control of something that Drupal does out of the box, or a module does out of the box. Now, some of that again is evolving itself anyway, because obviously natively PHP doesn't understand what a hook is. It's a very strange, quaint way of doing things in a functional world. But fundamentally, there are always going to be pre-processors in Drupal, or post-processors sometimes, and they are now kind of evolving, if you like, from the idea of originally, you know, hooks that you would then go in and to change things. But yeah, so I think probably one of the most popular modules in Drupal is web form. It is a fantastic project in its own right. It's maintained by just a few folks, but one guy kind of looks after most of it and is responsible for basically bringing it to its latest incarnation. And I think it's a really good example of the kind of the breadth and, if you like, the strength of the ecosystem around Drupal. Even just one module like that has an amazing ecosystem of other modules that you can combine with it as well. I'm going to take a quick sip of water and do some more votes. So white or blue? Two for blue, 2 for white. It's going to be neck and neck again. Another one for white. Give it another 10 seconds for any more votes. Okay, so it sounds like we're going with views. So the one thing that pretty much every website does somewhere is list a bunch of stuff. And views is Drupal's way of listing a bunch of stuff. That might be users, that might be pieces of content, obviously, that's the most common thing. It might be the administration view of a list of things. And again, that could be almost anything. And in fact, again, I can jump across to the blue side a little bit here because all of the administration of blocks is actually done with views. So views is essentially, again, a kind of an ecosystem to its own right. It's actually been built into Drupal core. Originally, it started out by a user in a very early version of Drupal with the simple idea of effectively having a query builder. So you have a visual UI that you can build. You can effectively set up the things that you want to query, filters. You can choose the fields that you want to show. You can effectively collate what you're trying to display with some, again, really sophisticated kind of features. There are views that can do drag and drop. There's modules that you can have to do drag and drop with views. So you can have a list of things and then you can have the user reorder them. So that can be really powerful for obvious reasons. You can do things like bulk editing. So you can check a bunch of stuff and then do an action on those things. And that might be unpublishing things, or that might be, well, you name it, kind of anything. There's even crazy modules that let you send email to a bunch of users based on, you know, who you've checked, that kind of thing. So views basically is a query builder. So it allows you to query anything that Drupal knows about. So I didn't talk about it too much earlier, but any entity within Drupal, anything that you can think of as an object, if you like, within the CMS, you can probably query with views. And when I say anything, I really do mean pretty much anything. You can even obviously hook it up to custom tables. You can hook it up to external things as well. So you can have remote entities that you can access and basically list them out. And a great example is Search API. If you've got results coming from, say, something like Apache Solr, you can have a view, which is basically your search results. And that makes it much easier to control, obviously, what you see from those search results. I'm going to keep going. I know I'm going quite quickly, but there isn't too much visual stuff on this, and you've got to hear me ramble. So we're on to our next slide. Drush or Drupal console. So white or blue? Okay, Lucy's gone for console. I've got white. Any more votes? Another one for white. Good. Okay. I can talk much longer about Drush than I can about Drupal console. So maybe that's a good thing. Excellent. Everyone's talking about Drush. Great. So I guess, yeah, many years ago, people really wanted to interact with Drupal on the command line, as well as through the UI, and Drush is the incarnation of that. Drupal shell, it has itself evolved with the project. It's completely separate. It used to be something that you would effectively install on your server, and you would then effectively have to, manage Drush, the Drush installation and your Drupal installation. These days, Drush tends to be installed with your application, so you're effectively working kind of one-to-one. You don't have any weird incompatibility problems between your command line and your actual version of Drupal. That makes things a lot simpler. But Drush will do a whole myriad of things, and in theory, many projects will publish their own Drush commands. Drupal core has its own. You can do some dead basic things, so like just getting the status of what Drupal is doing or currently thinks it's doing in terms of which database it's connected to, what host name it thinks it's using, all of those kind of good things, what version of Drupal, anything like that. And then there are also lots of other, like I say, commands. So for example, you might have a migration script that you might want to run to do some stuff, and you can basically kick that off on the command line. You might want to clear a cache, that kind of thing. Drupal's equivalent of the keep calm and carry on was always keep calm and clear the cache, because to fix many things in Drupal, you would clear the cache, and Drush is a great way to do that, and still is. I'm going to go to the next one. So again, white or blue, pick a color. Blue, 2 blues. Oh, I've just got straight old CMI. Okay, blue's looking strong here. 3 for IPE. So yeah, 3 for IPE and 1 for white. I'm going to go with IPE then. Yeah, that's right. Okay. So yeah, so in-place editing. Again, something which I guess you could say other CMSs started to do a better job of than Drupal a few years ago. It was a big push, probably about 3 or 4 years ago now, to basically make Drupal better at being able to look at a page and go, I want to change that thing there, and be able to effectively click edit or double click it or whatever you like, and be able to go in and change things on the page. So rather than having to flip to the administration view and edit things over there, you can actually edit things on screen. Again, that's something which Drupal does now do really, really well. There's been a large amount of work to effectively make that kind of seamless. It's not perfect everywhere. Again, it depends on the mix of modules and things that you're using, but for kind of some of the core features, it's very, very strong. So IPE, I just saw a question from Ahmed. IPE is in-place editing. And again, it's something which I think was maybe overlooked a little bit in the days gone by, but it does have a very strong kind of usage now. A really good example of this is Layout Builder. So Drupal used to be accused of not having a very good way of kind of making a flexible layout on the page, allowing people to kind of change it. Layout Builder is a great example of that in-place editing working really well. So you can choose your columns, you can choose the order of the components that you're seeing. You can really kind of structure a page in a really dynamic way with Layout Builder. Layout Builder is only one of the ways that you can structure a page, but it's probably a good example, and it is in core, so it's kind of like a feature that everyone's got available. I will jump to the next one. White or blue? White or blue? Ooh, 2 for blue very quickly. Okay, 1 for migrate, another blue. Mark's abstaining. I think I might know why that is. I'm going to guess later, but anyway, another blue. We'll go with automated updates. Yes, automated updates. Again, I think there are some things where there are some things which Drupal kind of does and leads the field in, and there are some things where it kind of feels like it's being outclassed and outgunned in some cases. And there's no lie in saying that WordPress does a great job. Love it or hate it, WordPress does a great job of letting you update your site for better or for worse very quickly and easily. And I think that's something that's definitely been a complaint of Drupal. So this is something which is now in the works. It's probably really going to only land with Drupal 10. Again, we're on Drupal 9 at the moment. Drupal 10 will be next year. But automated updates will basically allow you to update Drupal core in place and potentially contrib modules and all that other good stuff to the latest version without having to do very much other than click a few boxes and choose what you want. That's going to be built on, still built on the Composer premise, but effectively it will be something that if you're on, say, some hosting where you're locked down and you can't go and change things, you'll still be able to do a certain amount of testing, for example. You'd be able to actually stage a version of the site, and see how that update works very quickly and easily. So it would be great in a non-production environment to do that. And it would take a lot of the pain effectively out of the upgrades. So this is designed to work alongside tools like Composer rather than replace them. Drupal is, fully built on, and the idea of, using Composer is baked in now. It didn't used to be. And again, of course, you can still just download a zip file and still do stuff. You absolutely don't have to. But certainly most of the people that I work with, and pretty much all of them I work with, will create effectively artifacts that they deploy And obviously, if you've created an artifact, you're not going to be able to do that automated upgrade because with the actual environment is locked down. So you can't make changes to it. It makes the security much easier. And it means that nefarious people can't do nefarious things. But more automated updates is coming. Okay, next slide. So white or blue? Two for white, one for blue, two for blue, three for blue. I need all the rest I can get. Okay, very good. All right, well, let's go for blue. Oh, hang on, maybe I've miscounted. No, I think I've got more for blue. That's 4 for blue, 3 for white. So REST, yes. So again, now we have Symfony under the hood. We have Guzzle baked in. We have lots of good things. There is also a fantastic, if you like, ecosystem of modules which allow Drupal to speak JSON, allow Drupal to do some great stuff with GraphQL, and effectively you can get to all of your content with the right modules enabled in a Drupal site from a REST endpoint. Again, completely at your whim, but actually effectively without actually having to do any kind of work from a development point of view, you can have a completely RESTful interface to your site, which means that you can do things. And again, I'm going to jump back to the headless side of this. You can do things in a headless way. Drupal can be a repository for content. It can be a system which brings together information from lots of different places and then presents it out to the world in a RESTful way. That's something, again, which has kind of only come about through the, from Drupal 8. You could do this thing in earlier versions of Drupal, but previously Drupal really only spoke HTML. You could make it do other things, but it was really always speaking HTML. So in the modern world, in the modern versions of Drupal, effectively, it's a first-class citizen in terms of the way that we think of sites using things like JSON, you'd expect. I should say, if anyone's got any questions, if anyone wants to correct me on anything or anything like that, just jump in. I'm going to jump to the next slide. And there's only a few more slides left, in case anyone's wondering. I won't go on forever. Okay, white or blue? One for Twiggy. Okay, another one, good. Two for blue so far. Any more votes? Oh, everyone's going blue. No one likes YAML. Ugh. No one has fun writing YAML. Oh, okay, one for Twig. Mark does, sorry. Okay. Oh no, sorry, Mark said Twig. So yes, so again, kind of, I guess the big revolution in Drupal's land was Drupal 8. There was a lot of feedback that theming and making the site look good was a real pain in earlier versions of Drupal. I can attest to that. That's probably the last time that I sweated blood, and tears over Drupal was theming, trying to make things look good. Drupal used to use a PHP format for things, which was fine, but it was still not a templating format that other people were familiar with. And it also meant that designers and anyone else who was used to, handlebars and all the good things, mustache and that kind of thing, they were, if you like, alienated from being able to write and create themes for Drupal. So Drupal uses Twig, which is, again, a native PHP templating library. That basically means, some of those really horrible things that actually you could do, like putting SQL into templates. And I would hold my hand up and say, yes, I did that once. I didn't do it again once I realized. But it's a good way to basically keep the separation of concerns going. Let designers kind of do the lovely things, make things look nice in a clean, clear templating language, which still has a bit of logic, but isn't going to be messing with what's going on from a performance point of view, or isn't going to ruin anyone's day in any other way. Next. So I've got automated updates in here again, and this is the downside to updating your slides in the afternoon you're presenting. But let's see what people want to kind of go with, because I can keep talking a bit more about this. White or blue? I'm hoping people will choose white because we've already talked about that. Yes, okay, good, excellent. Thank you very much, everybody. So Project Browser. Project Browser is actually, again, related to automated updates. One of the challenges you will find if you're developing anything on Drupal is that there is an enormous ecosystem of tens of thousands of modules and thousands of themes available to you on Drupal.org. And so basically deciding what you want to use, looking for a solution, going to find a way to do something is actually kind of quite difficult today. It tends to come through best practice of, talking to people, finding out what they use, asking them how to solve a problem. What did they do when they tried to do whatever it may be that you're trying to do? So Project Browser is basically, again, sitting on the same backbone that the automated updates will work with, but it's basically going to hook into Drupal.org, where all of the modules are published and are available. And it will allow you to essentially have that ability to look through a really nicely curated, well-explained taxonomy, system of organization, so that you can find what you want to install. And you'll also be able to find those ecosystems more easily. So at the moment, I mentioned the ecosystem of web form or even views. If I wanted to see what all the popular things are that get installed with web form, it's actually quite difficult. Now, web form does actually have a go on its own page of listing out all the different modules you can use with it, but that's of course a constantly changing thing. So Project Browser is designed to effectively help solve some of those problems. So making discovery of other people's code more easy, and making it easier to actually install those modules once you get them as well. And I think we're probably about 3 slides from the end now, but white or blue? Give people a minute or so. Who doesn't love an olive? Okay, got 2 for olives. 3 for blue. Oh, okay. Okay, well, I'm going to be a bit cheaty here. I'm going to talk a little bit about both of them, maybe. Yeah, we've got lots of blues. Perfect. So Drupal comes out of the box with its own themes. So it gives you obviously something that you can just start using. Many people will install a really popular framework, Bootstrap, for example, but there are lots and lots of options out there. Drupal comes with a couple of absolutely fantastic themes out of the box, which are either for the back end with Claro or for the front end with Olivero. So they've also basically just gone through some big push to get them effectively live into the next version of Drupal, into the latest version of Drupal, I should say. They are now stable. They are fully accessible. They have some fantastic accessibility features built in, and are obviously twig based, as we talked about earlier, but they work really, really well. But of course, you can change either of them. So you're not locked into either. You can switch them out, change them to whatever you want. You can actually install a theme which actually removes all of the crazy divs that you get from Drupal if you want. You can install a theme which will give you loads and loads of classes if that's what you want. One of those is called clean and the other one's called classy. Can you see what they did there? Those themes can be used as well, and something which, again, people don't realize in Drupal, you can stack themes. So you can say, I want to start with, say, for example, Olivero, and I'm going to use that as my base theme. And then you can create your own theme, which basically inherits everything from Olivero, and you can tweak it and adjust it and change it. So you've then got, if you like, a customized theme which depends on Olivero, but is effectively completely separate from it. And you can then, do whatever you like with that. And of course, you can upgrade Olivero, you can change it, and it will inherit everything, continue to work. So, yes, a couple more slides. So white or blue? We've got 1 white. Okay, all okay. Got more French. It's a bit 50-50 on this one. I might have to I might have to talk a little bit about both. Hang on, white. Yeah, okay. Okay, so well, let's start with French. I won't try and I won't use my best French accent, don't worry. So again, something that actually probably one of the reasons I originally came to Drupal was the multilingual capabilities and the ability to internationalize a site. That's something that I think has been a key strength from, well, probably Drupal 5, Drupal 4, maybe even earlier than that. So you can translate anything in Drupal. It's very, very strong in that regard. Back in Drupal 6, I built a system which actually used an external translation service to effectively translate stuff into, I was doing Welsh and Polish completely out of the box. So my customer would write their own content in English, and then we'd tick a few boxes of what they wanted translated. We'd send it off, and it would actually come back in electronically, and we'd have it in that new translated version. That was done entirely without any kind of development work whatsoever. And it was a real huge strength to the system for me. And I was able to offer my customer the ability to translate their site, you know, with some credits from the translation service, but effectively great simplicity. I can talk a little bit about performance. Performance is where I've spent a lot of my time working out why sites are slow, helping customers with their performance problems, understanding how to make things quick, and sometimes going down the rabbit hole of this isn't working very well, why not? And seeing what we can work out to improve things. So Drupal's performance had initially, again, a few versions ago, been a challenge. Part of that was a symptom of not kind of using enough of the great kind of projects out there, but also, effectively because a functional system probably isn't ever going to be quite as quick as a properly built object-oriented system. We can debate that later maybe, but Drupal now comes with a very sophisticated, and I think it's kind of one of its best-in-class features, the caching API. So you can do some fantastic things. And in fact, the caching and purging, if you like, so purging other caches as well. So when I change content in Drupal, ideally I want to be able to cache, you know, the pages elsewhere. When I change content in Drupal, I want to be able to remove it from all of those other caches where it might exist. And that is very possible and very doable, and we take great benefit from that. One of the reasons that Drupal gets used for some really high performance sites is because it's great at doing that. And that's thankful, you know, we're thankful to that for effectively some of the efforts that have gone into the caching API. So I think this is probably almost the last slide. So community or commerce, white or blue? Blue. I need white. White. Blue. Oh, okay. Oh, I think it's literally down the line. So yes, I mean, I guess why, you know, one of the reasons I've stuck with Drupal all these years is the amazing group of people that actually build it and make it what it is. I've done some stuff with commerce. It was not my favorite thing, and I probably won't want to talk about it again. But the people in the community are amazing. They are an absolute testament to collaborating in the open, which I think is one of the hardest things to do. Anyone can write software. I wrote lots of really bad software back in the day, and I would have found it really hard to collaborate. I mean, I do a little bit with colleagues internally, but most of my time these days is helping customers and digging through their issues and helping how to fix their challenges. But ultimately, the community is what makes Drupal great. And the often used tagline is come for the code, stay for the community. And I think it's very, very true. The next DrupalCon is in Prague. I think it's September this year. There's normally a DrupalCon in the US. The last one was in Portland. I actually kind of got more involved through Drupal and effectively found my job at Acquia through going to Drupal Camp London, which was an in-person event that has been running. It's been on pause because of the pandemic. It's hoping to get restarted soon. And yeah, I've met lots of fabulous people and worked with some absolutely amazing people over the years because of it. So that is, I think, it. You don't have to listen to me talk anymore unless you want me to answer some questions. Any questions from the floor? And it's fine if there aren't. No worries. Thanks, Ahmed. Cool. No worries. I hope you enjoyed that anyway. It's a bit different. I'll stop sharing now.